Hi, I'm Kimberly Davis, and I'm the Fiscal Feminist. Today's quote is, "Every time you borrow money, you're robbing your future self." This is a quote from Nathan W. Morris, and it is a very true statement. May sound draconian, may sound severe, but it's definitely true. When we take out a loan, it's because we want money immediately. We want something right now, and so we're going to go take a loan out so we can get the money immediately to go buy what we want. We're paying through a loan for instant gratification. This is not a particularly good idea on throwaway items, because if you take the loan out, it means that the money that you're going to have to pay it back with over time is money that you would have in the future for other things, but instead now you're using it to pay off the loan. And the loan is accumulating interest over time, so it becomes a lot more expensive for that item that you bought if you pay it later than if you pay it in full now with money from your savings account. So basically, by taking out a loan, you are paying more money for an item because you are impatient. And it also means that you're not being disciplined. So you don't want to save, you don't want to be disciplined and work up to buying this item. Instead, you want it now. If you are disciplined and you save and you work up to get to the amount of money that you need for the item, you can then consider it to be a loan from yourself, except at a 0% interest rate. And that means you fully paid it off and you don't have to worry about it later because you saved for it. You're going to feel liberated, and you're going to be feeling very happy in a year or two that you don't have to pay that loan off and pay for something that you bought 2 years ago and don't even remember what you bought for a lot more money than what it actually was. So the upshot of this is, don't allow yourself to buy unnecessary things on credit, because it is a slippery slope and the interest just piles up, and as time goes by and you're paying, little bits and pieces here and there, it just becomes like a mountainous amount of debt that you have to deal with. You're taking money away from yourself in the future, and that is a very, very bad thing to do, because it's going to really constrict how you grow and how you prosper. So credit card debt is never a good thing. Now, there are times when we do need to borrow, and these can be for things that are not throwaway things and that will actually add to your economic benefit in the future, such as a mortgage on a house, even student loans, because in theory, you're going to get a better job in the future, so this should enable you to make more money. Or there might be an emergency situation where you desperately need money for some emergency that pops up that's just beyond the pale. Or maybe you want to invest money in a profitable business that you have. These could be all legitimate reasons for borrowing money, but you're going to borrow that money in a structured way with an amortization schedule, and in a way that can fit into your monthly budget, instead of just letting it float out into the ether to some future date when it's, you might pay it off, but the amount of money has grown so high in the debt that you can't even wrap your head around it. So yes, there are times when borrowing money is essential, but it would be done in a more structured way and in a way that fits into your budget without making the future really put you in harm's way in the future. One last thing I would like to say on the topic of borrowing money, which is, if you do borrow money from a family member or a friend, do it in a structured way. Don't just take the money and say, "I'll pay you back at some later date," because that's going to probably cause some acrimony and resentment in the future if you don't pay it back in a timely way. And you should have a structured payment program in place with that family member or friend, and maybe even have a little interest tacked onto that so that they don't feel like they're being taken advantage of. It won't end well if it's an open-ended arrangement. We all find ourselves sometimes up against it, and I've had to occasionally, borrow money from my parents during my divorce, and, it was uncomfortable, and I would have preferred not to have gone down that route. But if it's done in a structured way, then at least everybody knows what their obligations are. So that's the tip of the day, coupled with the quote of the day, which is, every time you borrow money, you are robbing your future self. That's it from the Fiscal Feminist. Speak to you soon.